Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Notes from a Jewish Newbie. I'm your host, Adina. Today is cold in New York. I don't know what I'm going to be doing in the winter of New York because I'm already wearing my slippers in the house. I'm already freezing on my walk with Finley. It's not looking good for NJN here for New York City winter, but that's okay. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about Shul, specifically where I went to Shul for the first time and my first experience at Shul. Okay. Hi, everyone. It's Adina or Adriana, whatever you want to call me, and you are listening to the NJN podcast, Notes from a Jewish Newbie. That's me. Powered by Meaningful Minute. So in my conversion, another Delulu moment was thinking I didn't have to go to Shul. As we all know at this point, I did my conversion in private, in secret. So I really thought, Adriana, that I was going to just learn with my rabbi in private and observe being an Orthodox Jew for years and never go to Shul in person. And the way my conversion started was I just learned. I learned about the 13 principles of faith. I learned about concepts and Parsha stories. I learned about all the core values of Judaism. I learned about the holidays, but in a lower level, because as my conversion went on, every holiday we'd have massive lessons, weeks of lessons, preparing the meaning, the history behind all these little things that we do in Judaism. One of the book sets I mentioned, and I highly recommend people buy it, even if you're from birth, is the book on our heritage. It's a series of 3 books, and basically it goes through every single day in the Jewish calendar that's of significance, and it tells you every minhag, every custom, every, Ashkenaz do this, Sephardim do this, but essentially I read that book, all 3 of those books, and I basically learned everything there was to learn, but didn't grasp it as well. Flash forward, I still whip those books out every single holiday, and I'm like, let me really make sure I know it Shabbos Nachamu. Did I say that right? Nachamu. And eventually it got to the point where it was time to go to Shul. And I always knew, I obviously needed to know what went on in a Shul, but I kind of thought I would just do it by books. And then I remember I got the opportunity of a lifetime. As a lot of you guys know, I used to be an opera singer. So I still am an opera singer, just not professionally anymore. But I remember someone reached out to me from a local shul and said, we're looking for a singer for our choir, for our high holidays. And would you like to be a part? Obviously, it's paid as an opera singer. For example, I didn't grow up Catholic, but I actually know a lot about the Catholic Church and what they practice because I sang in a Catholic church as a choir gig, as a soloist, because they paid really well. And same goes for high holidays. I actually know that male singers will actually sing in Orthodox Jewish shuls for high holidays. But, I was a female. That should have been my flag number 1, that this was not the type of shul that I was, learning and converting into. But I was invited to come sing, nice payment, and I was super excited. I remember I got this book. I posted videos about it online. Guys, you can look. That's where you can start to see. I was converting at that point. I remember I actually had to take the book to my nanny kid's house to help him pronounce the Hebrew with me. So go back and watch that video. It's so cute. But now I wish I had that book so I could actually keep up with all the words and songs we sing. One of the songs, for example, was Alvina Malkeinu. I actually wish I still had that songbook because I kind of need help to learn the music and words for all these tunes, by the way, because every shul has a different tune. Back to the point. I tell my rabbi, guess what I'm gonna do? He goes, what are you gonna do, Adriana? I said, I am gonna go to Shul and I'm gonna be a singer, and no one will know that I'm there to convert, and I will learn everything there is to learn about Orthodox Judaism and going to Shul, davening, reading for the I'm gonna learn it all, and no one's gonna know why I'm there. I'm gonna be there to sing. I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna observe. And he goes, what shul are you singing at? As a woman. And I was like, it's a conservative shul. Nothing against these conservative shuls. And he goes, okay, Adriana, okay, have fun. You do that. That's all he says. Because once again, in the Orthodox Jewish conversion process, they don't help you. He's like, go off. You think you're going to learn about all the customs and all the things we have to do as an Orthodox Jew in a shul that doesn't observe it to the same, the different, they observe different things, levels, and interpretations. My introduction to Judaism was through the Orthodox Jewish from families in Boca, these yeshivish people, the shuls, they go to BRS, BJC, Young Israel, in the circle. That was my model of what Orthodox Judaism was. I knew that there was a machitza in that room. I knew about Sneas. I knew about Shabbos, okay? I remember first rehearsal comes and they're using microphones, which most opera singers actually don't use microphones, but we're not singing opera. We're choirs, but there's microphones hooked up. And I remember thinking are the microphones going to be on Shabbos? Maybe they just stay here because they don't want to take them down, and then they just and then they just turn them off on Shabbos, whatever, okay? And then there's a piano, and then I remember thinking are they going to play the piano on Shabbos? Maybe they have a non-Jew play a piano, but our instructor was definitely Jewish, so I was I don't know. And then I remember they started discussing rehearsals and they were like, well, why don't we just rehearse after Shabbos? And in my head, I was like, oh, but it's Shabbos. You know, at this point, I was not using my phone, but I would like drive. Like basically as a convert, you're supposed to break one thing. And like I thought my one thing I was going to do was drive. And I mean, some converts, like they are allowed. No, like I stopped that very quickly after I realized it was such a big mitzvah for me personally to keep. But I thought I was going to be driving to this shul every Shabbos. That was my one break. And I would be singing and I would be learning about like everything I needed to learn about for my Orthodox Jewish conversion. And that's that. And you guys, I remember I walked in and I don't think there was a mechitza and like women were wearing kippahs and like people were not fully sneas, whatever you want to define that as. And once again, it was just such a culture. It was actually the definition of a culture shock for me because in my head, I thought that Orthodox Judaism only looked, it looked one way. And this was a conservative shul, which is a different sect of Judaism. And I was just so confused. I remember I went for like one rehearsal. And if any of them are watching this right now, because I remember when I quit, I got a lot of messages, some of them not nice, of like, we were so excited for you to come sing for our shul. And like we were told like, you didn't take the opportunity seriously. And I was like, it's not that I didn't take it seriously. I just couldn't be there on Shabbos. Because the level of Judaism I was converting into and I chose was Orthodox. And on Orthodox, there's a lot of different observances on Shabbos compared to a conservative or reform shul. And you guys, I'm sure it was so lovely. And the music was amazing. And the singers were amazing. I'm sure it was an amazing high holiday season. But for me, I feel like I actually knew about Kol Isha even at that point, but I didn't think about it because I was like, maybe because we're all in a choir, it's like, okay. But I basically remember running back to my rabbi and saying like, that didn't work out for me, Rabbi. And he was like, I knew you would be back. Oh, that was another thing. I remember I was there during the week and like there was women that were, I think, rapping to fill in. Like, I don't know, because at this point it was so early on. I don't know. But like I said, I know there's people who do that. There's sects of Judaism that they practice that. But for me, that was so foreign. And like, I was like, I didn't read about this in my books. In fact, I skipped the chapter on tefillin because I was like, that's not my problem. Like, I don't know. But actually, if this could be included in the episode, I actually think it's pretty special. The one thing that one of my friends taught me, who she did grow up in a conservative shul, is how as like one of her bar mitzvah tasks, she learned to like lean from the Torah. And in Orthodox Judaism, the women don't read from the Torah. And some people view that as oppressive. The way I learned that as is how beautiful that Hashem made me with my mitzvahs and men with theirs. That's a man's job. I have so many other jobs that are so holy and important and amazing. And I mean, in a casual sense, I'm like, good, let the men do it. I don't want that responsibility. But I do want to say that I think it's actually quite beautiful and they don't get enough credit for that because I couldn't lean from the Torah. And I think that's really special that those girls do get that opportunity. So good for them. But for me, in my future, we will be in my Orthodox shul. And now I'll get to then my experience at the shul that I now then continue to convert at and was my sponsoring rabbis and shul. If you guys are not shopping with the PZ Deals app, what are you doing? This completely changed my life when it comes to shopping on Amazon. I used to impulse buy Amazon things. I've been on WhatsApp chats, Facebook pages, but this is an actual app on my phone, doesn't take up my phone storage, and I can set alerts to notify me for the exact items I want on sale versus scrolling on Amazon, scrolling on these chats, and just being tempted to impulse buy things I don't actually need. But let's be honest, I need everything when it's a good deal. Not to mention, it doesn't just have Amazon. Unlike most of the WhatsApp chats and groups I've found, it has Sephora, it has Saks, it has Bloomingdale's, it has Target. I mean, it's pretty dangerous, but how dangerous could it be? It's saving us money. Girl math. And if you're a husband watching this and you don't know what girl math means, it's not for you to know. I mean, I'm looking at the app right now, and although it's pretty tempting because I have a very hard time not buying things that I don't actually need when they're this cheap. Pizza oven with stone, $28. So cute. You can see all the different apps. Seriously, where was this when I was moving into my apartment? Impulse buying a million things that I don't need and missing all the sales. So from now on, I'll be using PZ Deals. Guys, I actually can't stop scrolling. I need all this stuff, which I don't need it, but I need it. Okay, back to the episode. So as I mentioned before, I'm always talking about my rabbis, my rabbit sins. It's because I have a lot of them. I mean, not a lot, but like I have a lot of access to them, especially now after converting. But I had my rabbi who taught me a lot in LA, and then I had my rabbi in Boca, because in the conversion process you need to have a sponsoring rabbi. And my rabbi who lived in LA couldn't sponsor me, because how was he supposed to know if on Shabbos I was saying like, oh bye, logging off and then going to the bar? I needed to be observed by a community, and the closest community, once again, it was such a blessing that like Hashem knew that I was going to convert, because when I signed my apartment in Boca, I was going between two apartments, and those two apartments, Avelia and Amalta, happened to be in walking distance of the Orthodox like shul communities. I remember just looking up the closest shul like near me in walking distance. It was 38 minutes away walking distance, and it was the Chabad Central Boca, and my other rabbi put me in contact with them, and that was like my only option of where I could go, and it was just the best place ever for me. So another thing about the Orthodox conversion process, they push you away, right? But people think that the way that they push you away is like, get out of here, our shul is full. You know, it's not like that. It's so subtle and discreet. It's so sneeze. It's so classy and sneeze the way that they push you away in the Orthodox Jewish conversion process. They are not like, get out of here, you can never be a Jew. They're like, oh, that's so nice, you want to come to shul? Okay. And I'm like, okay. And I remember, or, you know, oh, you want to have a meeting? I'm just so busy. I'm so busy. And they are busy, by the way, the rabbis. I don't know how they're not like as busy as they, like, I don't even know how they live, but like rabbis are busy. So I remember my rabbi gives me my Rebbitzin's phone number, and he's like, reach out to her. And I'm like, guys, I'm for this like influencer, this public figure, I'm a nervous wreck. I'm super anxious. I have a lot of social anxiety sometimes. But my obvious insecurity was like, people are going to recognize me. Oh my gosh, like I'm so scared. Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to sit? I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I'm so nervous to go to the shul for the first time, because I think sometimes like being the convert that I was, like I had so much exposure to such a high level of Orthodox Judaism and observance level that I knew what was about to go down in the shul was like foreign, and I knew it was going to be intense, and I knew I was going to have no clue what's going on, versus maybe someone who didn't know would have confidently walked in there and then been like, what on earth is going on? Like, I'm so confused. I was extra anxious because I knew that I knew nothing about what was about to go on in this shul. I remember texting the Rebbitzin being like, hey, like, you know, I don't know if you know who I am. And she was like, no, I don't know who you are. Humble me, Rivka. And I was like, but like, you know, I'm going to come. Like, what time should I be there? Like, what time are you getting there? I want to sit with you. Like, I don't want to sit alone. And she was like, yeah, like, I don't know if I'll be there this week, but like, we'll see. And I was like, what? In my head, I'm like, what if she's not there? Like, where do I sit? What do I do? And she was like, I was like, but you know, are you going to be there? I want to find the text messages, but of course I text her so much that like, I couldn't find them at this point, but it was years ago. I say, but you know, are you going to be there? Cause like, I don't want to walk in alone. Like, where do I sit? And she was like, yeah, you know, like I just had like a hard week, and like, I don't know if I'll be there or not. You know, I don't know to this day how much of this was truth and how much of this was the pushing away, but I'll tell you right now, that was a really important Shabbos that I came high holiday wise, and she was there. And also now knowing my Rebbitzin after years of sitting right next to her in the front row of shul, she was there. She never misses shul. Like my Rebbitzin was always at shul, and she was making it seem like she was maybe not going to show up that day, but it was because I think she wanted to see if I was going to come, no matter what. If I was going to come, even if I was scared, awkward, lost, embarrassed, shy, she wanted to see if I wanted this Judaism, if I wanted this conversion that much, that if I would come. She didn't encourage me to come. She didn't say, oh my gosh, I'm going to warm up a seat right next to you. But guess what happened? When I got there, I walk in, I just see the wall of sitters. I like remember it clear as day. Oh my gosh. I see the wall of sitters. I grab one, and I just kind of like look around, and there she is. She's waiting in the front row, and she's like, hi. And I feel like that was like me passing like test number one. And she was like, so nice to me. And then she was like, oh, hi. Like, you know, like, and I remember like already having anxiety because I was worried people were going to recognize me. My rabbi called before and was like, she's very nervous. People will recognize her because she, you know, has a name in the Jewish world. And once again, my Rebbitzin was like humbling me. She was like, I don't know who this girl is, because she's like, so like, she's like not even on social media. She's too busy running the best school in Boca Raton. Okay. But she basically just like kind of took me under her wing. I sat next to her in the front row, and I remember all was going well. I'll get into some funny stories about my actual, you know, play-by-play of experiencing the service. But at the end of the service, I turn around, and I'm immediately like swarmed by a couple people, and they're like, oh my gosh, are you not understanding? I love you so much. Oh my gosh, are you converting? Da-da-da. And like, they honestly, out of all the shows I could have gone to in Boca, that was my best, like it was the best show like that there was. And I remember running off to the side and just crying just bawling my eyes out because this was like a question that was like asked for me for so long. And honestly, like, are you going to convert? Are you converting? Is she converting? And even before I was thinking about converting, so it put so much pressure on me for when I did convert. It took so much like of a step in leap of faith and in leap into not knowing like what my future will hold. It was scary for me to even contact a rabbi. It was so scary for me to go to a shul. Like I said, when my rabbi first told me, you have to go to shul, I'm like, what do you mean going to shul? Like everyone's gonna recognize me and bombard me and they're gonna know I'm converting. I don't want anyone to know. I remember breaking down crying, and I think Hashem like sent me like this angel, this Ayala, and she came over and she was like, I don't know like why you're crying, but I just want to let you know that I'm a convert too. And she was holding her baby and she was like, and if you ever need anything, like you should come to my house. And it was the friend I needed at that time. Ayala, if you're watching this, and I ended up going to her house for so many Shabbos meals, and she taught me so much about Judaism. She's such a learned, amazing person, as are so many people in that shul, the entire shul, Chabad Central. They're all like family to me. Like literally when I get married, I want to have my Shabbat brachas like in Boca. After my dramatic crying, I remember kind of like rushing out and going home. Every time I'd come back to shul, I would go in and out, in and out, in and out. I wouldn't talk to a single person because I was so shy. People were staring at me. People were looking at me. And eventually, my anxiety stopped because I realized, like, I need a home. I need a community. I would have my Shabbos meals alone, and I needed to get out there more. And I actually later learned that Rivka, my Rebbitzin, who, once again, she really didn't know who I was. She didn't know that, like, people would actually care. And then, like, someone else in the show was like, no, like, people are going to know her. And so she was like, to everyone who came, like, she said, no one go up to her. Like, don't you dare say anything to her. Don't go up to her. Don't look at her. Like, leave her alone. And I remember people were so good, you guys. Like, the Chabad Central community, if you're watching this, they were so good at having a poker face that they would walk up to me and be like, oh, like, what's your name? Like, do you want to come for Shabbos meal? And like, I would get all the way to their house. I would go there for Shabbos meal, and then they'd be like, well, yeah, we know who you are. They're like, but we weren't supposed to say anything. And like, guys, now if you recognize me, like, come up to me, say, hey, oh my gosh, I follow you. Like, the worst thing ever is when people are like, you look so familiar. And I'm always like, maybe from like your second cousin Khani's wedding, or maybe from like Camp Rena. Like, no, I am non-Jewish nanny. Just like, call it out what it was. But like, basically, I was so grateful in that time that everybody in that community just let me be me. It was so sweet, and it sounds so dramatic. Oh, poor me, like poor little social influencer. But really, it was exactly the place I needed in this private, intimate, emotional journey. That even leads into, not being able to convert, years of doing this and struggling and getting my Beis Din meeting and things being canceled and not hearing from them. And, people in shul would even say like, how's your conversion? Do you know when you're converting yet? And I burst out into tears. No. I don't know when I'm converting. I'm sorry, I don't know when I'm converting, and it's the worst feeling in the entire world to not know when you can start your life, the life that you want so badly. And my shul was like my rock in this time, that community, because like I said, even if my Boca, my nanny mom's in the circle, even if like the BRS, BJC, Young Israel families were what like introduced me to Judaism and were so much of my core and love for Yiddishkeit, most of them didn't know. I think only 2 or 3 families actually knew. The others, like everyone else who carried me through that conversion, was my shul community. And I still refer to them as my nanny moms, but you guys, it's my shul moms, Now I can say my shul moms. Thank you. My last Shabbos in Boca was so sad, but I'm like, I'm going to move back to Boca one day. Mark my words. But I love my life now, Jewish, but sometimes please cut out some of this crying. Don't get me wrong. The last thing I would ever want is to go back to not being Jewish, but I get emotional sometimes thinking how I would cry myself to sleep wishing that I was Jewish, wishing that I could move to New York. And kind of like now looking back, it was so nice sometimes just to go to shul with the people who really became like family to me. My social media wasn't mentioned once. It was just like so simple and sweet. And yeah, I can't wait to go back to shul soon in Boca. Okay, now for maybe some of my funny introductions to shul. So I actually have my sitter right here. This is perfect because it's the Chabad sitter, and although I have multiple different types of sitters in my room at all times, this is the sitter that I was using when I was at Chabad Central. I actually didn't get this personal sitter until I had Shabbos by the Kolarski family. Shout out, they're like one of the best families ever. And I was saying how like when I travel, I don't bring my sitter because like it's so big, and I wish I had one that's like more small, but I also never went into like bookstores and stuff, episode coming on that soon too, because I was like, what if I was caught scrolling in the, siddur aisle and people would be like, why are you here? You're not Jewish. Thank you for reminding me. I just wanted to read the siddur, duh. Like, why not? So I can learn more about my nanny kids and make sure they're davening correctly, So I always knew that the siddur opened reverse. Like, it's so funny. Like, I don't even think twice now, but like, this is how I would hold the siddur for a normal book. But yeah, now it looks like normal, I guess. But this is, yeah. Okay, that was fine. Obviously, thank God a Chabad shul has like, half English, half Hebrew. And also like they have so many instructions, but I didn't know how to do the Shemona Esrei. My rabbi taught me that in his office, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, bend your knees, bow. Baruch atah, the Aron Kodesh, always so beautiful. All the Torahs inside. But maybe it's just because it was Chabad, but like, I remember being like, what the heck is going on over there? It was so loud. And basically, like, I remember someone posted a TikTok saying converts and Baal Tshuvas, like, in like a service or something, like looking over the mechitza, and like everyone was like commenting like that, like, oh yeah, like all the girls are always looking over the mechitza, like to look at the boys, and the boys looking at the girls, like because like they're cute or something. And I was like, no, I'm looking over because I'm like, what the heck are they banging for? They're all banging, they're singing, they're like yelling, they're dancing. And I'm like, what's going on now? Even at the Alt Nushu like shul like 2 weeks ago, like every time, like their mechitza's not as high, but like every time we turned around, they were like going around. What's the song they sing? Simit Tov and Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. And so I was like, what is going on right now? Like, and I'm being like, why? This is so rowdy. The comedian Modi does the best bit ever on this, okay? And he literally says, like, when I walked into the shul, I was like, what? Why is everyone talking? First of all, why is everyone talking? Like the women's side, they're like, oh, what are you making for Shabbos this week? Like, who are you having, who's staying by you? And I'm like, why are we talking? Like, they're davening, aren't they? You're not supposed to talk Shemona Esrei. By the way, I made that mistake. I'll be like, so anyways, I finished it, after I learned, like, yeah, we can talk in shul sometimes. Then I was talking at the wrong parts. Shemona Esrei. But the talking was definitely confused. But no, Modi does this bit where his husband is like, maybe shul wouldn't take so long for you guys if you didn't talk all the time. And I'm like, that's so funny because obviously there's so much more depth and like layers to a service that's an Orthodox Jewish shul service versus growing up as a Christian. You went to church, there was like some singing, there was like a little speech, it was like 45 minutes total of a service, maybe an hour, okay? No. We have to make everything so complicated and long, whatever. But I love shul. By the way, if you're ever having me at your house for Shabbos, like you better be up and going to shul. Like shout out Mimi. She was like, I actually can't believe you're going to shul. I'm like, yes, we're going to shul. She's like, people in Lakewood don't go to shuls. I'm like, I do. I went to shul. I went to Rabbi Mordechai's shul. And it was amazing. Like, I love going to shul. And I always say the reason I go to shul every Shabbos that I can is because I know there'll be a day when, like, one day where, like, my roles, my mitzvah, like, they change. I'll be at home preparing a meal, watching my kids at home. And in my shul, like I said, it's so funny to me when they're, like, banging. I don't know which words I can say for the they're all beating on there. That was like wild to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're beating on something. Like, what is, like I said, I remember like looking over the mechitza, like not to look at the boys, to be like, what on earth is going on over there? They're beating on the desk. They're yelling like skoyach. I'm like, what does that mean? Like skoyach. Like it was so, like, I love it. I don't know. I love shul. I love a good rowdy shul. That's for sure. But I also love a good proper Orthodox shul. I do sometimes get, as a convert, a little bit like worked up. Like if it's not like proper like shul experience, I get thrown off. Like for my first time ever, this is actually one of my first times like on Shabbos day, not davening with a minyan, because I always go to shul. And when I was at Camp Dina, they weren't davening with a minyan. And I'm like, wait, you guys are skipping stuff. And they're like, yeah, there's a term for it. I think I have it written out here, but here it is. By the way, if you guys want to see my siddur, oh my gosh, I could show you all the notes. Yeah, I think this is the term, kedusha, meaning we can only daven with a minyan. But love davening in English because I love to connect. It's my reset for the whole week. And in the morning, like sometimes I'm only doing like the morning blessings. Sometimes I'll do full shachris. But essentially, like this is like, I love davening. And I also love to follow along in the Ashkenazi shul. I don't daven in Hebrew because I really want to know what I'm saying in English. It just helps me connect better. But I love like on the parts like when we're like doing like the repetition of the Amidah. I'll make another episode about like how I started learning Hebrew, I guess. But yeah, my skills were made a joke of like, but yeah, then I went to Safra for like mincha one time and I was like, what is going on? Because they're like, instead of saying Baruch and they're saying Bauch, I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, this is the person leaning today. Not for me. This is not gonna go so well for me. I will be reading the English the entire time, and I will be like sweating with anxiety of like, am I at the right place? Am I standing up at the right time? Oh, another thing that really shocked me, was they didn't ask for money, but like that everyone is gonna laugh when I say that, but like in like the Christian community, like every single service they pass around like an offering basket, and like you put in like a check. I don't want to be giving the rabbis any ideas, but like actually like my dad hated that growing up because he's like, I'll give enough money to this like church, whatever, like why they gotta ask me every week? Can't we just make it about the message? And like, yeah, like I actually really like how, and like, we're not asking for money like every single week, but then like when it is like, oh, we're gonna do an auction or we're gonna raise money, like what is that? I think it's during high holidays where they'll put up that like page number thing and they will literally be like, how much money can we raise? And we start doing like a bidding thing. I've bid before. I've added some money and I loved it because I started off the women's side and they'll just start being like, oh, like this is how much money we're raising, this is how much money we're raising. And I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. That was interesting. That was new to me. Another thing that was so mind-blowing to me was in the high holidays, I was like, davening with my sitter, and then, when they start to just like the chazan, he just starts to pop off. Like he just is like, all right, we're doing repetition. He goes, and then I'm like, what the? And I'm like, how do they even know we're going? And I remember like kind of looking a little stressed, like how are they reading this fast? And I'm like looking around to see if everyone else is on the same page as me. I think it's like high holidays. And basically a girl stares at me. She goes, none of us read that fast. Like we're all like, just like kind of reading, skimming it right now. But I actually have the best chazan that there is ever at my shul. Shout out Aryeh Hurwitz. He's the best chazan ever. And as an opera singer, I really appreciate his voice. And I like always say when it comes to being like a member at a shul and like actually like picking community, like that is like one of the top things I care about because it is such a different experience when I get to have a shul with like an amazing chazan and like singing. Because for me as a singer, I just think I connect so much and I love like when there's a good chazan. So shout out if you're a good chazan. I also had an amazing chazan at the JFX shul in Cleveland, Ohio. He was amazing. So I am always appreciating all the chazans at all the shuls. Honestly, they're always pretty amazing. But I had to throw a little bit of like shout out there for Aryeh, for Chazan Hurwitz. What other things about shul that confused me? Another thing that like made me laugh about shul was like just like the kids running around. Oh my gosh, I remember like another time I went to shul. It was a different shul because before like going to my shul currently, I went to a random shul with like my friend Daisy in West Palm Beach. It was I think like the Chabad of West Palm, and like not that this is like good behaved of her, but her kid like escaped the like kids room and like started driving like the trike like through like the aisles. I'm like, this is so funny to me. Like the Candyman. Oh my gosh, I made a video about this, but I'm like, whose idea? Obviously a Candyman, because a woman would never do this because it's stupid. The Candyman. I remember like I volunteered at a shul one time, like one of my nanny kids' shuls actually, also converting, but like I was keeping Shabbos but driving at this point. But like I thought once again I would try to like be around the community. Literally they're all like escaping, like I need to go to shul. I'm like, what? And it's because they want to go to this Candyman. I literally find out like the Candyman is David Schreibish in Boca, and I'm like, how could you betray me like that? I literally used to take care of their kids. Like I was like, it was literally the worst experience of my life. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like the Candyman in our shul. What a crazy concept, but also really sweet. I would love to be the candy lady at my shul, I guess. But see, like I know, like don't do that. It's gonna wreak havoc on all the kids. Like all the kids are gonna get like red dye number 40. Like hopefully they're giving out like nice organic candy. What else about shul? Throwing the candy at the bar mitzvah boys. By the way, like I never make mine over the mechitza. I don't know. I don't like those candies either. Those sun-kissed ones. Like maybe people won't consider me Jewish now, but like I don't think they're so good. I don't know. A little overrated. In general, like I love when the kids, like they're always like climbing up on the stage, like, Zayda. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. Like he's in the middle of speaking. What else surprised me about shul? Oh my gosh. I didn't tell you guys. I feel like I skipped a major chapter about like me going to shul. So I started driving to shul at first, but then when it came time to like walk, I started to like walk. Once again, that was my choice on my own. I was pushed, like I was like, I am walking, like Orthodox Jews walk to shul. Like, I'm going to walk just like my nanny kids and my nanny family. So I remember like staying at my family's houses, like my shul family's houses just for Shabbos. And then I remember like making the walk directly from my house to shul. And it was like 35 minutes. Like, honestly, if I could like really walk like 28 minutes, like, and it was in the blazing heat. So I love when people in New York are like, oh my gosh, like we walk 15 minutes to shul. I'm like, 15 minutes to shul, light work. I'll walk across Manhattan to go to shul. Like, that's nothing. Of course, it's not even as hot here. I would walk. I had a beautiful walking path in Broken Sound Boulevard in Boca. And it wasn't really an amazing walk. I spent a lot of time pondering on that walk. There was an Erev. I was in an Erev. Once again, thank you, Hashem. Everything worked out. Someone says, why don't you just scooter? And I'm like, what? I thought like you couldn't scooter on Shabbos. I knew you couldn't ride a bike on Shabbos because, the chain might break and you might fix it. But I didn't think scootering was like allowed. I thought scootering was just like for kids. And the reason I don't know if I want to put this in the episode or not is because I swore I would never talk about it. And the reason I didn't know if I'd want to talk about this or not and put it in the episode is because I know that in New York, people don't scooter. I know there's a lot of controversial opinions about it, but in Florida, we scooter. It's Shabbos stick because it's my Shabbos scooter. And my wheels are plastic. I'm not talking about electric scooter. I'm not even talking about scooter with the lights on it, okay? I'm talking about the plastic wheels. Is blue, black. That baby, I had miles on my baby, okay? I had miles on my Shabbos scooter. But once I learned that, I remember like casually asking my rabbi, like, yeah, like, because the people scooter. He was like, yeah, that's a good idea, actually. You could get a scooter. I was like, oh, I will. That scooter was already in my car. That was already in my car. I literally thought, I thought scootering was just for kids. Like, no, it's also Shabbos stick. But like I said, it really became my Shabbos stick. It was only my Shabbos scooter. And honestly, that scooter brought me so much joy. I really miss it. Like, I don't know why we don't scooter in New York, but like, it's okay. Like I said, I hope I'm not getting canceled for this. There's a lot of halachic debate on that. I don't scooter anymore because my community here doesn't scooter. There's no need for a scooter. But I was in the Erev and I was scootering away to Shul and it was the best thing ever. But I used to walk with a little backpack, the little beige backpack you see me wearing all the time, with like, I would walk in my workout outfit like this with the skirt, whatever. And then I would pack my Shabbos dress in my backpack and I would like pull up on my scooter, park it, say hey to all my shul besties, aka like my kids, like, yo, what's up guys? Like, hey. And then I would go to the bathroom. I would change my entire outfit into like, I'd pack my headband, I'd pack my Shabbos shoes, like I'd pack my dress and I'd go daven. I love to get into shul for like the Torah reading and Musaf, those are my favorite, and then Kiddush. I'm not a JFK or like I literally I pull up correct. I mean, if I'm not late, because I'm late to everything. But yeah, I wanted to also say what other funny things I know. I guess like the Kiddush buffet is like really ruthless as well. Like ruthless, man. Like people cut you, and yeah, the Kiddush buffet is ruthless. It really is ruthless. But the all new Kiddush here in the city, it's worth being ruthless for. The best Kiddush I've ever had in my entire life. Oh my gosh. I remember when people said that to me, I was like, my shul back home has a good Kiddush. I go to all these speaking events. Like all these like shuls are like top five. But like all new at this point takes number one. And it's worth like waiting in line. It's worth every ounce of it. I feel like I could be forgetting so many stories, but I guess I'll just end this episode with my favorite prayer that I daven every Shabbos with my whole heart. I never rush it. It gets me very upset, honestly, sometimes when shuls and people like are kind of rushing because it's near the end of Masaf and people just like want to go to eat at Kiddush. But this prayer, I will never not get emotional. It's the Elenu prayer and there's varying translations, but this is how I daven. When I daven in my head with all the prayers in the siddur, I will read the English, but I connect to each moment. I say, it is incumbent upon us to praise the master of all things, to exalt the creator of all existence, that he has not made us like the nations of the world, nor has he caused us to be like the families of the earth, that he has not assigned us a portion like theirs, nor a lot like that of their multitudes. For they bow to vanity and nothingness, but we bend the knee, bow down, and offer praise before the Supreme King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be he, etc., etc. One time I posted that was my favorite prayer on Instagram, and someone said, that's so surprising that that's your favorite prayer, because isn't it considered insulting as someone who used to be non-Jewish that, that they bow to vanity and nothingness? That's not what I took away from that prayer. What I took away from that prayer was it was describing the separation of Jews versus a worldly life. It is true. When I'm wrapped up too much in the world, what am I caring about? My Instagram likes, my views, my outfit, how much this costs, how pretty I'll look for this or that, how much money we make on this. That is bowing to vanity and nothingness. It doesn't mean that there's not aspects of other people's lives that are not Jewish that mean that they do not have some sort of spiritual connection. But for this prayer, and I get so upset when shuls like will rush it or people will not listen and they take it for granted, because I stop every single time and I read the English and I say, thank you, Hashem, for not making me like the nations of the world. Thank you, Hashem, for not making me like the nations of the world who committed the atrocities that they made on October 7th. Thank you, Hashem, that I am not the people who actually can believe and actually feel that what is going on right now is to Jews and people in Israel and to our hostages is okay. Thank you, Hashem, that I am Jewish. Thank you, Hashem, that I get to keep Shabbos as a gift. Thank you. That prayer encapsulates everything about my conversion and choice and love for Judaism. I remember davening it as a non-Jew, getting emotional, thinking, I am still the nations of the world, but I one day soon will be of Hashem's chosen nation. And I remember davening it for the last time as a non-Jew and for the first time as a Jew. And every single time, even when I finish my service hungry, also when I go to Kiddush, also thinking maybe I didn't really connect this much. Maybe I'm in a bad mood. Maybe I'm uncomfortable. Maybe I'm hot. Maybe I didn't want to go to shul today. That prayer sets me back and I say, but thank you Hashem for all of this because it gives my life so much purpose. So I hope you listen to this and you go to shul this week. And maybe I'll see you there. Bye. Good Shabbos.